Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Savvy Cast. This is Jamie, and I'm very grateful that you are here, whether you are watching on YouTube or listening to the podcast. I've got an exciting episode today. If you are interested in the aspect of beauty that is brows. So this is going to be a good one. I have learned so much from these lovely ladies that are my guests today. And today I have joining me from Homewood, Alabama, Deanna Irwin and Jackie Robinson. Hi, girls.
Hi.
Okay, let me just start by telling you what we're going to discuss. And I will just tell you, these ladies are so busy. I've been going to Rawbeauty, which is the salon that we're going to be discussing all the services. When I'm there, it's hopping, it's busy, they're busy. So we're going to try to cover all this as quickly as possible. But I felt like there was so much that I wanted to share with my listeners because brows are important. If you're a woman, I mean, men, I guess it's important to men, but this is probably going to be more geared toward women. But ladies, before we jump into Rawbeauty, I need to know what each of you would choose as your last meal. That's my icebreaker.
Sushi.
Oh, okay. Sushi.
I love popcorn. That's what I would eat.
Okay, so sushi and popcorn. Okay, y'all.
Every day. So I'd eat it every day for my last meal.
Well, you're right near some great sushi in Homewood, so you're in a good place. Okay, y'all, let me just start because I want to just sort of tell how I found you all. I discovered the necessity and just the beauty of, or the need to take care of brows and how important they are. And I want y'all to address that. But I was driving, actually, my husband was driving me to Atlanta to get microblading, which is extremely expensive. And that was a full day. He was being very sacrificial, taking me to do all that. And it was dramatic. But then I decided, okay, I need to find something closer to home. And I don't know why I didn't already know about you, but I found you and now I'm super excited. But in the process of finding you all, I discovered that I really wasn't on the right path with what I was doing to my brows. And I want y'all to dig into that. So first, let's start with why are brows important to your aesthetic, to your look, to your beauty?
Well, I mean, I've been a makeup artist for 18 years and brows are everything. If you did your makeup and you didn't have a groomed brow or have any brows at all, it's your whole frame to your face. So there's actually a theme, I think, that's around that has like Kim Kardashian in them and it has them with like no eyebrows and you see how completely different they look. So it's like an actual meme. And, your brows are your frame to your face. So they are really important.
Okay. Now, what I want to talk about is first, because we've got listeners of all ages, stages of life. So let's start with the basics. And I'll just go ahead and say I paid for all three of my girls to go see you, Deanna, and y'all do different things. Jackie, you're the owner of Rawbeauty in Homewood, and Deanna works for you. And Jackie, you do all the things, the microblading and all the things we'll talk about. And Deanna, you do a lot, but you don't do that.
Right.
You are sufficient for my girls. My girls, I wanted them to get started with someone who knew what they were doing with their brows. And I wanted to get them with someone who could maintain their brows from now until whenever, because what I've learned from y'all is that it's like a hairdresser. You don't want to jump around. You want to get with someone and go from there. So basic, anyone listening, teenager, someone who just has good basic brows, what are the basics everyone should be doing with their brows?
Shaping. And if you're not good at shaping on your own, we can teach you how. We sell Kelly Baker brows. So we can either tweeze, shape with a fine razor, or wax. And then we can teach you how to fill in your brows in between appointments. Because the worst thing you can do is to start plucking on your own and get over plucking. And then you've got such a long process to try to grow it out. We can show you exactly the brow shape that you need for your face style. And we can teach you how to fill it in so that in between appointments, you can fill your brows in and we can keep the shape that you need them to be.
Yeah. When I was younger in a salon, I always started out by getting waxed, pretty much. There are other methods, like she said, now you can do the razor. I tend to do that a lot for microblading because the pores aren't open with that, where, waxing, it opens up your pores. And some people are really sensitive to wax. I actually can't have my skin waxed, so I do the razor on mine, which the downfall to that is that the hairs grow back faster because they're not pulled from the root. But yeah, anybody, even if you have fabulous brows and you have the best brows anybody's ever had, you still want to shape them a little bit, even if you're going for that, like what I call model look, where all the hair is not perfect. Like I have a more perfect brow because that's what I like. But there are a lot of younger girls now, thank God it's not the 90s, and they don't all wax off their brows.
Right.
And they have that more like unkept kind of look. And that's a thing right now.
Okay. I'm glad you said that because I'm 56. And when I was growing up, much to, I guess, my detriment, we all wanted that thin, like we plucked the life out of our brows and then we waxed, and like the inside, I had some missing. It was horrendous. And I'm telling you, everyone's brows don't grow back well. Mine did not. Thus the trips to Atlanta for microblading, which I don't need to do anymore. But do you see a lot of people come in who have lost beautiful segments of their brow because they've gone to someone who didn't know what they were doing, or they've done it themselves?
Yep. All day long, every day.
Okay. So the first thing you're saying to everyone is find someone who can pluck or wax. What do y'all think about threading?
Threading's awesome. It's just something I don't do. Typically, you'll find them at they have like bars for threading, technique that takes years to learn. And it's just a different technique.
Okay. But either way, find someone who knows how to shape. Okay. And then Deanna, I will say my girls were all excited because they said, Mom, she taught us how to fill in between. And that's great because, they won't have to be running back and forth. Okay. So now everyone needs to shape. What comes next?
I do lamination. So if you have a decent brow, then and you don't have like a lot of gaps, or even if they're not as full as you want them, a lamination is basically like a little mini perm, and it's going to flatten the brows so that they appear fuller because they're laying flatter on the skin versus being raised. And it also can help, we can do tint, and you can even do like a little skin grab on there to build brows in. So that's a great next step if people are wanting that before they go to permanent makeup.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, can you explain how, because I thought that I was coming in to get a microblading touch-up from my Atlanta trip. And I found out, no, I did not want that. I wanted lamination, and lamination did exactly what I needed. Can y'all explain to the listeners why I did not need more microblading and why something that cost a fraction of the price worked better than what I was walking in to do that I did not need? It's a little complicated, but someone explain that.
That one actually. So I'm a big believer when I do permanent makeup that, especially if somebody else comes in with somebody else's work to me, I'm a little bit more particular because of course in the beginning I would have, but I think we had decided on yours, they had kind of pulled yours in further than your natural hair. And I told you, I think we should leave them and let them fade a little bit to get them in a little more of a proper space for you. And what we realized is that I think, didn't the girl kind of make them thinner than her natural hair? She had made them thinner, like not as wide of your hair. And I don't want somebody to spend the money just to put more trauma to your skin and more pigment in your skin if you're not already happy with it. So there's always ways of, like she said, brow lamination, tinting the brows until that permanent makeup or that pigment in the skin fades, go back for it. The problem is people are overdoing it and I mean, this is how I make my living doing permanent makeup, but people are overdoing the permanent makeup and they're wanting to come every year, every 6 months and get it touched up. And you just don't want to keep doing that to your skin. I mean, think about if you got them touched up every year for the next 20 years, what are they going to look like? So,
well, what you told me, Jackie, is okay. And to clarify, microblading is like it looks like little hairs. It's
Right.
like little brush strokes that look like hair until you get up close.
right.
Well, you explained to me that if I kept doing that, it was going to be one solid and it wouldn't look like hair. And that's what stopped me in my tracks. So how does someone who has already started microblading and they have the hairs and they're fading and they need a touch up, how do they decide, let me redo the microblading or let me do something else?
It would be up to the person they went to see. Obviously, if you came to me, I'm going to look at it, look at your skin. How is it healing? Obviously, you can microblade, but you don't need to do it all the time. The whole reason you get it done is because microblading is meant for a more natural look. It's meant for people that already have great brows or decent brows and want them just a little bit more. If you're wanting a more makeup look, a more filled in look where your brows are looking perfect all the time, that's when I'm automatically going to tell you to do a powder brow, which is the machine shading. It's less trauma to your skin. It looks more filled in. It lasts longer. Microblading is not made for every skin type. And that's what I'm seeing a lot of, is that all these girls are just doing microblading on everybody and they're ruining people's faces. Honestly, only maybe 15% of people out there are perfect for microblading. In your 20s, usually really fair skin, no pores, drier, normal skin. That's a perfect candidate for microblading.
Okay. And I just want to ask you, I think I know the answer. Should I have done a powder brow instead of microblading?
Well, I would have just done it different. I mean, everybody's different. Everybody's going to do you differently. I stay more in your natural hairline when I do microblading because microblading is one dimensional where hairs are dimensional. And so you're always going to see where you were microbladed and then you're always going to see where you aren't. But if you have pretty great hair and I microblade inside of your hair, it's always going to look natural because you're always going to see your hair first. It just enhances it. That is what microblading was meant for. And people are taking it to a whole nother level. And that's where I get frustrated as a permanent makeup artist because it makes all of us look bad. The ones that really try to learn more techniques to do it the proper way.
Yeah. And to clarify, when I had mine microbladed, did not have, there's about a half an inch of microblading, which when you say one dimensional, it's just little, it's like I had a little eyebrow pencil shading. Then you have hair. So what you're saying is if you had done it, you would have done the powder brow, but you would have stopped. What if someone needs though to come in?
I would have done your powder brow all the way in. If you would, I also ask what you want. I mean, if you are set on microblading, I would have microbladed you, but I would have stayed in your natural hairline and just kept it the way it is. A lot of people overpluck this center part or either just were never born with it. They just don't have it. Unfortunately, you can't change that and people's hair aren't going to grow back. It does look better for the brows to be closer. You want them to line up with like that inside of the corner of your eye. But not everybody's does that. I actually just did a microblading on a lady, I think 2 days ago, yesterday or day before. And her brows were really wide set, but she had a lot of hair. And I explained to her the same thing. I said, if I go inside, you're going to see hair and then you're always going to see those strokes. And I think that's always going to bother you. I said, if you truly want microblading, I really don't need to change your shape. I'll just go inside of what you already have. And she was very happy. But that's not how I would have always done it. But I don't also want her to have tattoo and then real hair. That's why I said that's why I do a consult before every appointment when you come in, because I kind of explain that to you in person. Like, this is why I think this is going to be better for you in the long run.
Okay. Now, what would you say to a woman maybe who has had cancer or has alopecia and she does not have any brows? What typically is the best solution for that person?
Powder brow all the way. That's all I do on people. And I do a lot of alopecia and cancer patients.
That's wonderful. Now, if someone has already gotten microblading and they know that it's not what they really need to continue, is there a main option to let things fade and then start over, or just come see you? I know it's all individual, but
Individual. If they're really saturated, which means that they have a lot of pigment left, you can either remove them or let them fade away. Again, depending on the person that did them, you're only supposed to stay in your epidermis, which is your very top layer of skin. The will push too hard if they're inexperienced. I mean, I was inexperienced when I started, and my work has changed a lot, obviously. That you have to learn. Their depth is too deep, and that is going to stay in the skin for a very, very long time. It's not going to come out properly like it's supposed to. So it would be like a removal situation. Or, I mean, I've had somebody come in with 2 different sets of eyebrows. Like that, somebody literally tattooed them, and then another person tattooed a whole new eyebrow on them, and they had 2 eyebrows. So with that, tell them you either need to get rid of one, or you just need to. And actually, one of the ladies I actually showed her how to cover the incorrect one with concealer, and that way she didn't have to. And I saved her from getting both.
Whoa!
But she was older. I mean, if a 20-year-old comes in with that, they probably don't want to live with that for the rest of their lives. If they're like 60, 70, they might be like, meh, well, whatever.
Okay, well, let's talk. And you do everything. Y'all do everything. Now, I will say I love lamination, love it. And let me tell you, those women, those of you who have ever bought the stuff that is sort of like clear mascara that's supposed to keep lashes in place, it doesn't work. I've used everything. Nothing at the drugstore works, or at least not for my brows. I would put it on and then my hairs would fall. I don't know. Lamination works and it keeps them in place. And I first got lamination with no tinting. And all I did was I would just brush them in the morning, but then I got a little tinting. What does tinting do, and how, because that's another thing that people with good brows can do to make them better.
Well, obviously tinting is going to make them darker, but so you can fill in little gaps with tinting. It can get a skin stain. So you can build up a brow to where it's fuller, it's thicker, and it's a great step if you're considering permanent makeup, because we can try with tint first to see how you would like it. And, some people will stick with tint. Some people go on to permanent makeup.
Yeah. So what she's saying is the tint, it's obviously evolved over the years. We have one now, and it actually stains your skin for like a week or 2 weeks, maybe. But it's cool because it's kind of like henna, but like a more revolutionary. I mean, it's a little bit better, newer formula, and it does actually stain the skin, and you can kind of see what like a powder brow would look like. And the reason we call it a powder brow is because it mimics makeup on the skin. That's
like brow powder.
Like brow powder. That's where the term powder brow came from.
But the powder brow is basically the most permanent. It's like a tattoo.
They all are tattoos. So anything that implants pigment into your skin, microblading or the shading, is both a tattoo.
Oh, okay. So they're both a tattoo. And can you just tell if somebody said, tell me in a nutshell the difference between microblading and a powder brow, what is it?
Microblading is a little micro blade, and it puts little micro cuts. So you're actually cutting the skin to create those hair-like strokes. With the powder brow or machine shading or micro shading, it's named 50 different ways. You're using a little tattoo gun that a tattoo artist would use, or a tattoo pen, and you are using needles and using different techniques to fill in the brow. It's actually less invasive, honestly, than microblading.
What's the most common?
Well, everybody always wants microblading, but it's kind of turned into where it's like Coke, Pepsi. Everybody says, I want microblading, but they don't even know what microblading is. Right. They just call it. Everybody calls it microblading. So a lot of times I tell them, you want a filled in brow, and some people will start with microblading and work their way up to a filled in brow, which happens a lot.
Which is what I'm going to be doing. Okay, let's talk, because that's something that people take into consideration. It's not cheap, no matter where you go. So you may as well pay for somebody who knows what they're doing, because I don't care if they're not good. I can't imagine it being cheap. It's a arduous process. What are the basic prices that people can expect?
It depends on who you go to. I charge $750 for each service for powder or microblading.
But that's for both. That's for the whole process.
That's the whole thing. Yeah. I mean, just paid that much for my Botox for one time and it lasts for 3 months. So if you are that person and you're spending money on Botox and fillers, it's literally the cost of probably one treatment of Botox or filler, but will last you for years. And I think when people think of it that way, they're like, oh, maybe it's really not that much when you think about it.
It's a tattoo on your face. You want someone that is going to give you a brow, fit your face. Jackie's been a makeup artist for
Like
almost 2
years.
decades.
Yeah.
And she draws on brows onto people that have none on their face.
Right.
You don't want to cheap out on something that literally you cannot hide this on your face if you let someone mess it up.
Oh, that's so true. And on it, okay, so it lasts about at least a year.
Brows are going to last 2-3 years, maybe more. It
She
just
did mine in
depends.
2018.
And hers are still, yeah.
Oh, so they last longer than microblading.
Mm-hmm.
I'm more of a fan, obviously, if you can tell, of a powder brow. And it's not because I don't love microblading. I love it. It's beautiful on the right person, but a lot of people are not the right people for it. Powder brow just looks prettier. It lasts longer, less trauma to your skin, all the way around better, honestly.
Well, I will say I wish I had known all of this. And that's one reason I wanted to do this podcast. I should have gotten powder brow. I should not have driven to Atlanta. I wish I had done everything that you're talking about with powder brow, but I'm going to have to fade and do all that. But this is why I wanted to have this, to educate people, because I actually had the person who was doing, and they're great. They're very good at what they do at microblading, but they were saying, now you don't ever want a tattoo. Don't go to anyone who does a tattoo. Well, that's not, now that you've clarified, tattoo is a relative term, correct?
The difference is I'm using a pigment, not an ink. So it's not like I'm tattooing you with a body tattoo ink. I'm tattooing you with pigment that's been made for permanent makeup. And that's why you got to think, I mean, of course, a tattoo powder brow 20 years ago looks horrible because they didn't think about how much technology changes and how much everything changes. Even since I've been doing it in 3 years, the pigment has just gotten by far better. It's always good.
So as we fade off of the podcast, what are your biggest tips? Okay. One great tip that you've given is more brow is better. The fuller, messier look is better. No pencil thin, so that's one great tip.
Well, that is a tip, but honestly, some people look really good with thin brows. Like honestly, if somebody came in with no hair at all and they wanted a brow, I'm not going to do a full brow on them.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Their face.
It's, I'm just saying, like, a more natural brow, really, like, not so, and that undone look is really popular right now. And honestly, it's good because you can still fill it in and make it look like it's really perfect from a distance, but up close, you'll still see their peach fuzz and all that, My brow is still in that I do on myself, but it's a brow that comes and goes, but I don't have any hair. I had no hair when I was like, I just don't have any hair. So if I didn't fill mine in, I would literally look like I was bald. Like I had alopecia. I don't, I have peach fuzz. So I have to fill mine in every day. And that's why I actually tattooed mine myself, but they're much lighter under my skin. But I did them 2 years ago, touched them up last year. And honestly, I'm just going to leave them be and let them completely fade before I do them again.
What do you, and I know y'all do sell the Jackie Robinson. Are there any products that you recommend that are really good as far as Ulta or Sephora, as far as brow?
Oh yeah. Do you want to tell them or you want me to?
About
Yeah. Well, we have Kelly Baker here, which you can buy here. You can buy it online if you don't live close. We'll show you how to use it. But other products I like are Anastasia. A lot of people know that. It's like Dip Brow. There's her Brow Wiz Pencil. That's honestly the only other brow that I've ever really used.
I use the Elf.
Oh, you use Elf. So see,
Elf.
That's in a much different, much less expensive category. So
I use it's almost like a crayon pen and it rolls up, but I use like 3 different colors. I use the taupe brown, the neutral brown, and then auburn. And I do like my tail's a little bit darker, but it just kind of gives you a more like 3-dimensional brow when you mix colors. So that's something that I do. And those are only $3 each. So
this is a girl that knows all the deals.
Well, that is awesome. Well, lastly, for those who might live around here or be within traveling distance, do you do like for bridesmaids, or do you do special events? Like, do you do some sort of brow party or whatever, like, everybody goes and gets manicures, are there parties or does everybody pretty much roll their own with their brows?
Option. I've been doing actually wedding makeup for 12 years. Just actually kind of took a step back from it a little bit so I could focus on this part of my business. But yeah, I mean, we've even said something like people could come here like the week before or whatever if they wanted to get girlfriends together and come up here, because we have an awesome private studio. You've been in it, and it's just there's 2 chairs in here, but it's nice and pretty, and they can bring wine and drinks and all that fun stuff. So yeah.
Well, great. Well, is there anything that I've left out that you need people to know about brows, or have we covered it all? Because I've been trying to respect y'all's time. I know this is a work day.
Really, like, honestly, learning the shape that fits your face. I think a lot of people really struggle with like how to draw a brow on, and they get really frustrated. And I think just really Jackie is great at that. You can do brow mapping here, and they can see exactly what brow looks good on their face. And then, we can just show them how to fill it in. And then they can just
brow mapping is a good one, because you can map out a brow, and that's how I do my permanent makeup. I mean, somebody that has no brow, I have to map them and draw them 2 brows that match each other.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Real quick. You also do, besides brows, I know we're on the topic of brows, but you do permanent lips. Is that right?
Yeah,
she does.
Do lips, eyeliner, and then she does lash lifts a lot, and we do hydrofacial.
Okay. So your website, I will direct everyone to your website, and I'll have all of that in the show notes. And Deanna and Jackie, thank y'all for educating us. And I'm just thrilled that I found y'all. I just love my brows, and I love not having to go to Atlanta, and Zane is so happy. Woo! He was such a good husband to do that. And now no more trips. So thanks, girls. And I'll see you all soon, and y'all have a great rest of your day.